You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
Welcome back to the program. Joining me now is Caroline Derby and Alex Kienlen from KARK's digital political reporting team, on camera and out in the field political reporting team. But thank you both for being here.
Thanks, Roby.
Mercifully, it's almost over.
Can't believe it.
I can see a light at the end of the tunnel, and there's no train coming. It's just like it's daylight, you know?
Oh, yeah.
It's all good. All right, we've had a busy week this past week. I'm going to start first with one of the bigger stories of this week is a pharmacy benefits manager bill, PBMs, sails through the Senate just like it sailed through the House. Despite a lot of opposition, it's sitting on the governor's desk, and we really don't know what her position is on this. Who wants to put in perspective what the PBM bill does? It's pretty simple what it does.
Well, pretty simple. It, of course, prevents PBMs from owning pharmacies. They can still be PBMs. They can still own pharmacies, but they can't be both.
Oh.
So what we're running into here is CVS pharmacies is also a PBM. And they were.
There's a lot of CVS pharmacies in Arkansas.
Well, they assert that they will close 23 pharmacies if this bill becomes law. Yeah. At the same time, and what pushed this bill forward during what was a fairly spirited debate in the Senate was PBM's impact on drug prices by a Federal Trade Commission report that came out last July. And it was a negative impact on drug prices.
Yeah, well, why do you, does anybody, I want to ask you guys, I have an idea on this, but I'm going to see if you guys have the same idea. Why do you think the legislature is overwhelmingly wanting to do this when it could lead to closures of 23 pharmacies and what's going on there?
Do you want to take it?
Well, sure. You know,
throw it back to me.
Yeah, you know, I think there are several different reasons why, of course. I think at the end of the day, I think they want to protect local pharmacies. A lot of them do. And so maybe that's not truly the driving force. Not sure. I don't truly have an opinion on it, necessarily the reasoning behind it. But from what I can tell, a lot of them are saying they want to protect some local, smaller pharmacies.
I think that's a big part of it. I also think they're just mad at the PBMs. They keep passing legislation and regulatory rules to change their behavior, and I don't feel like they're getting the response that they want, which I'm not sure they know what the response is that they want. But
well, and a lot of people retire to Arkansas. There's a lot of people that spend a lot of time at pharmacies. Yeah. And then, of course, we have the additional problem of these small so-called mom and pop pharmacies, say in the Delta region. They go out of business, and there's stories of people that have to drive an hour just to pick up their prescriptions.
Yeah, there's quite a bit to follow here. Well, we'll see what the governor does. That's going to be the big mystery here. She's got 5 business days, and I think she's probably 2 days into it, so we'll see what happens if she signs it, vetoes it. I tend to think that if she was going to veto it, she would have tried to kill it in committee so it didn't have to get to her desk to veto, but that's just me. All right, let's talk about prison funding. The appropriation bill, 5 times it fails. It gets to 21 votes at the max, but now Senate President Bart Hester says not even going to try it again unless 27 votes miraculously appear. Were you surprised?
Yes and no. You know, I don't know that, you know, every time that we write a story, it failed this time, it failed this time, it failed this time. You know, I don't know that that's necessarily a great look maybe for the president at this moment, but I definitely think there's still more to come. So regardless of if it failed 5 times, I think there's more to come, and if they're saying they're going to stop it for now, I'm interested to see what the future looks like.
Yeah, what do you think, Alex?
Well, my statement was when it failed the 5th time, I confidently stated, well, obviously this will be back tomorrow for another vote.
Right.
And, well, as you know, I'd imagine it's done for this session, but in fact, if you heard Attorney General Griffin's press conference yesterday, where he talked about these thieves that he'd arrested had been part of a retail crime ring, he made an extended case for why we need a prison, why we need more prison beds. Now, he did say something that I thought was interesting. It was kind of a drive-by statement, but he said even 2,000. In other words, you know, the bill was to build a very large prison.
Right.
And he's apparently indicating we could lob a third of that off and still meet a need.
Yeah, I don't know if price was really the big deal there. Plus, it was going to be built in phases. I mean, you could get 1,000 beds added, 2,000 beds added, then 3,000 beds added. Obviously, the opposition in Franklin County not going away for sure. I think another go ahead.
Oh, well, I mean, they already have $75 million toward
Right.
it, and I think that's probably a factor in all of it. And too, is they have money that I think is actively being used or can actively be used right now. It's already been put aside for it last legislative session, I believe, and so that's a factor in it as well.
Yeah.
And which means they could start on phase one with or without this legislation
Yeah,
passing.
and you get the fiscal session coming just a year from now, so
Right.
they could pass, this is a fiscal matter, so you could pass legislation between now and then to see where it goes. So for those opposing the prison funding bill, your fight is far from over. For those supporting it, that fight is far from over, so we'll keep an eye on
A
that.
lot to go on it. Yeah.
Can I make one final
go ahead.
point on that? Because this keeps getting brought up. The governor will use the term catch and release a lot, which is what it is. But I think the key term is our misdemeanor justice system is failing because of county prison overcrowding with
Right.
state prisoners who are waiting for a bed to open up
Yeah.
at the penitentiary.
Yeah.
So, and there's a case to be made there.
No, I completely agree with you on that. Those county prisons have been overutilized for far too long. All right, constitutional amendments, another big thing that we saw this week. There was already one from the House that has been forwarded. Now there's one from the Senate. Caroline.
House by Representative David Ray. It is a citizens-only voting amendment, and so it's aiming to just essentially ensure that non-citizens are participating in state and local elections in Arkansas, kind of recertifying that. I believe there's a little bit of a wording change from what current law is that Representative Ray feels like kind of strengthens that notion. And then on the Senate side, on Thursday, they put forward an amendment to protect the right to keep and bear arms.
Were we losing that right? I must have missed something there. What happened? What was the argument for it? So,
Yeah, I mean, there was no vocal opposition. People did vote against the amendment in the Senate. People did vote against the amendment that came from the House. Of course, they've still got to pass both chambers before they could be put in front of voters, but those are the two that they're looking at for right now. They can put forward three, not sure if they will, but two for now.
yeah, I'm kind of surprised. There is a push for an economic development constitutional amendment that may still come. And then I really thought one of the first ones out of the gate would be to take away nonpartisan judicial elections. That seemed to have momentum coming into this
I
session.
expected to see that myself, but here we are.
And they go through that process of, in the Senate at least, if the right to protect the right to keep and bear arms didn't pass, then it would have gone to party affiliation, then it would have gone to economic development. But the right to protect the right to keep and bear arms passed first.
This reminds me, it's been years ago, but they passed a constitutional amendment to protect your right to hunt, fish, and trap, and it got like 80% of the vote, which I'm like, who are the 20% that oppose this? I mean, you got to be kidding me. I have a feeling that the right to bear arms in Arkansas is going to approach those Soviet-style numbers, I think.
Well, I think one of the goals with that would be, let's get our hardcore voters to the polls.
Yeah.
So we say, okay, if you're at the poll, you'll be able to vote on this. And oh, by the way, we have these candidates we want you to take a hard look at too.
No, that's definitely part of the equation there as well. And I think that the non-citizen voting, not allowing non-citizens to vote, is another one that feeds kind of red meat to the political base on the conservative and Republican side of the equation there.
Absolutely.
All right, we're out of time. We got about 3 days next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And I have a feeling that Wednesday is going to be a really, really late night. Like it'll be 11:59 and they'll get done.
Right,
So
I agree.
get some sleep in a few days, but stay awake for the next 3. Caroline and Alex, I appreciate you guys as always. Thank you so much, and great work this whole session. And it's been fun working with you guys, and we'll keep it going.
There we go.
All right.